Welcome to a silent battlefield where your own brain is working against you from the very second you open your eyes. Most of us start our day with rituals that seem entirely harmless, perhaps even productive, but in reality, they are slowly eroding your cognitive performance, day by day, layer by layer. Research in neurobiology now shows that certain morning habits can be more devastating to your neural pathways and long-term memory than even a total lack of sleep for one full night. Today, we are performing a deep dive into the 5 critical mistakes you are making in the first 60 minutes after waking up. We will explore the hidden chemistry of your mind and reveal why your intelligence is literally fading because of these invisible errors. Imagine for a moment that your brain is a high-end, multi-million-dollar supercomputer. Every single morning, this machine goes through a complex, fragile boot-up sequence. This is the period where your consciousness re-emerges from the depths of sleep. If you run malware the moment you flip the power switch, the entire system will glitch, overheat, and lag until the sun goes down. You are effectively starting your day in a deficit. The first and most destructive habit killing your potential is what scientists call digital intoxication. Think about your current morning routine. For the vast majority of modern humans, the very first physical act of the day is reaching for a smartphone. This one movement is a cognitive disaster. When you check notifications, scroll through social media, or open your work email while still in bed, you are instantly forcing your brain to jump across states of consciousness. In a natural, healthy state, your brain transitions slowly. As you wake up, you move from delta waves, which are deep sleep, into theta waves, which are the gateway to your subconscious and creativity. From there, you should ease into alpha waves, a state of calm, relaxed alertness, and high-level visualization. By jumping straight into the digital world, you bypass this entire crucial period. You force your brain directly into a high-stress beta wave state. This is the equivalent of redlining a car engine before the oil has even reached the cylinders. This immediate flood of external information forces your dopamine system to redline before you have even stretched your legs. You haven't even processed your own existence yet, but you have already loaded your mind with dozens of other people's filtered lives, political problems, and stressful work demands. This creates a psychological state known as information fragmentation. Your focus is not just distracted, it is shattered into 1,000 tiny pieces. Trying to pull those pieces back together later in the day to do deep, meaningful work becomes an impossible uphill battle. Neuroscientists confirm that this immediate stimulation triggers a micro-stress response in the amygdala, causing a massive spike in your cortisol levels. While some cortisol is needed to wake up, this artificial surge is toxic. High morning cortisol literally eats away at the hippocampus, the region of the brain responsible for memory, learning, and emotional regulation. You feel exhausted an hour after waking up not because you lacked physical rest, but because your brain burned out on cheap synthetic dopamine before breakfast. You are effectively training your brain to have a short attention span, rewarding it for jumping from one random stimulus to another. Over years, this rewires your prefrontal cortex, making deep work, critical thinking, and high-level problem-solving nearly impossible. You become a passenger in your own life, reacting to the world rather than creating it. The second habit, turning your mind into a thick, impenetrable fog, is the total lack of natural light exposure. We are biological creatures, yet we spend our mornings in the dim light of an apartment or under the harsh, flickering, artificial glare of light emitting diode bulbs. Your brain relies on ancient circadian rhythms to function properly. Inside your brain, there is a tiny structure called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. This is the master clock of your entire biological existence. To trigger the clearance of adenosine, which is the metabolic byproduct that builds up in your brain to cause sleepiness, your eyes need high-intensity light. When photons hit specific cells in your retina, they send an immediate electrical signal to that master clock. This center then commands your endocrine system to stop producing melatonin, the sleep hormone, and start synthesizing serotonin and cortisol in a healthy, rhythmic way. If you ignore this and stay in a dimly lit room, your brain remains in a state of biological twilight. This leads to profound cognitive sluggishness. You can drink all the coffee in the world, but until that biological light switch is flipped by the sun, your neurons are running at half capacity. In our modern indoor lives, we are chronically starved for lux, which is the measurement of light intensity. A bright indoor office might have 500 lux, which seems plenty to our eyes. But a cloudy day outside provides 10,000 lux. A clear morning provides even more. That massive difference in intensity is the signal your brain needs to tell it that it is time to be sharp, alert, and intelligent. Without this signal, you are essentially trying to drive a high-performance vehicle with the parking brake fully engaged. Your mood, your metabolic rate, and your ability to focus all suffer when you deny your body the sun. This isn't just about waking up. It is about setting the chemical timer for your sleep tonight. If you don't get light now, you won't produce melatonin correctly 16 hours from now. It is a vicious cycle of daytime fog and nighttime restlessness. The third mistake destroying your productivity and long-term health is immediate caffeine consumption. This is perhaps the most socially accepted addiction in the world, and millions perform this ritual the moment they roll out of bed. However, the fundamental chemistry of your brain works very differently than the marketing of coffee companies would have you believe. To understand this, we must look at a molecule called adenosine. Throughout your waking hours, adenosine builds up in your brain like a debt. The more adenosine you have, the sleepier you feel. Deep sleep is the only way to pay off that debt and clear the molecule out. When you wake up, there is almost always a lingering amount of adenosine still attached to your neural receptors. Caffeine is a master of disguise. It is shaped exactly like adenosine, so it slides into those receptors and blocks them. It doesn't remove the tiredness. It simply prevents you from feeling it. If you drink coffee in the first 30 to 60 minutes of being awake, you are interfering with a natural cleanup process. Your body has its own mechanism for clearing that morning grogginess through a natural cortisol peak. By introducing caffeine too early, you create a massive backlog. When the caffeine molecules eventually break down and leave the receptors, usually 6 to 8 hours later, all that accumulated adenosine rushes back into the receptors all at once. This is the origin of the dreaded afternoon slump. This is why you feel like your brain has hit a wall at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Instead of being at your peak, your brain demands another fix, making you biologically dependent and cognitively less efficient. By waiting at least 90 minutes, you allow your natural cortisol levels to peak and clear out the adenosine on their own. By the time you finally have that first cup, the caffeine will enhance a system that is already functioning correctly, providing a smooth, sustained lift rather than a temporary mask for a deeper problem. The fourth habit involves the literal fuel you provide for your neurons. A breakfast high in simple sugars, refined flours, and processed carbohydrates is a direct path to rapid cognitive decline. Many people reach for a bagel, a bowl of sugary cereal, a muffin, or a large glass of orange juice. While these might provide a momentary burst of energy, they are biological landmines. These items cause a massive insulin spike in your bloodstream. What goes up must come down, and this is inevitably followed by a sharp blood sugar crash. This crash triggers a state known as brain fog, but the reality is even more concerning. Research suggests that following a high-sugar, high-carb meal, your performance on complex memory tests and executive function tasks can drop to the level of someone who is clinically sleep-deprived. You lose the ability for deep analysis and nuanced critical thinking. Your brain, sensing a fuel crisis, begins to crave nothing but more quick energy, turning your entire workday into an endless, exhausting battle against hunger and irritability. Furthermore, these repeated insulin spikes lead to something called neuroinflammation. When your brain is inflamed, the protective barriers around your neurons begin to weaken. Your neurons communicate more slowly. This is why you start forgetting simple names, losing your train of thought mid-sentence, and struggling to find the right words in meetings. By choosing healthy fats, high-quality proteins, or even practicing the art of intermittent fasting, you provide your brain with a steady, reliable, and clean fuel source. This keeps your intelligence sharp and your emotional state stable from morning until night. Your brain is only 2% of your body weight, but it consumes 20% of your energy. Give it premium fuel, or expect it to break down. The fifth, and perhaps the most profound psychological habit, is the total absence of silence and intentional planning. We live in a world designed to be loud. By turning on a television, a radio, a podcast, or loud music immediately after waking, you are committing an act of cognitive avoidance. You are filling the void before you even know what is in it. Psychology suggests that the early morning hours are your prime window for peak creativity and subconscious processing. This is when your brain is most likely to solve the problems you were struggling with the night before. By denying yourself 10 to 15 minutes of quiet reflection, you are voluntarily surrendering the steering wheel of your life. You become a reactive creature rather than a proactive creator. A brain that is constantly reacting to external stimuli, whether it is news anchors or upbeat music, loses its capacity for long-term planning and strategic vision. This leads to a state of chronic micro-anxiety. You feel a sense of being overwhelmed, not because your life is too hard, but because you haven't taken the time to organize your internal world. When you start your day by consuming information rather than creating intention, you are essentially telling your subconscious mind that everyone else's agenda, the news, the influencers, your boss, is more important than your own goals. Over months and years, this kills your self-confidence and your ability to lead others. Successful, high-intelligence individuals protect their morning peace with a ferocity that borders on the sacred. They know that a calm, quiet mind is the only place where true intelligence can grow. To wrap this up, you must understand one fundamental truth. Your brain is not just a bunch of thoughts. It is a biological machine made of cells, chemicals, and electricity. It is incredibly powerful, capable of changing the world, but it is extremely sensitive to how it is handled during its startup phase. You wouldn't expect a high-performance jet engine to run well if you poured sand into the intake every morning. Yet that is exactly what these 5 habits do to your gray matter. Changing these habits does not require a large amount of money, a gym membership, or a degree in science. It only requires you to reclaim your right to a calm, intentional morning. It is an act of rebellion in a world designed to distract you and keep you operating at 20% of your potential. Try this tomorrow as a serious challenge for your future self. Leave your phone in another room or keep it on airplane mode. Stand up and go straight to a window, or, better yet, step outside and let the natural light hit your eyes for at least 10 minutes. Drink a large glass of pure water to rehydrate your brain cells after a long night of metabolic repair. Do not touch caffeine until you have been awake for at least 90 minutes. Spend 10 to 15 minutes in total silence. You don't have to meditate perfectly. Just sit there. Observe your thoughts. Write down your 3 most important tasks for the day. Not 10, just 3. Only after at least 1 hour has passed should you allow the noise of the outside world to enter your space. You will notice the fog lifting almost immediately. You will feel your mental edge returning, your focus sharpening, and tasks that used to feel like mountains will suddenly look like small hills. Your intelligence is your most valuable asset in this modern world. It is the only thing that can truly change your life. Stop sabotaging it before the day even begins, and it will reward you with incredible, life-changing results in every single area of your existence. Remember, true greatness doesn't start with grand, heroic gestures. It starts with small, scientifically correct habits repeated every single day without fail. Protect your brain. Treat it with the respect it deserves, and it will build for you the reality you have always dreamed of. If you found this breakdown valuable and want to understand the hidden forces shaping your behavior, subscribe to the channel. We are dedicated to unlocking the deepest secrets of psychology and neuroscience for those who are ready to reach the top. We provide you with the mental tools to master your mind and, by extension, your life. I will see you in the next video, where we will dive deep into the psychology of high-intelligence individuals and how they structure their entire lives for maximum impact and mental clarity. Take care of yourself, and more importantly, take care of your mind.